Today we're going to look at dividing decimals by whole numbers. Again, this is something that I know you worked with in elementary, so hopefully it's going to be a quick little review for you and an easy assignment. So let's first practice dividing 9 and 92 hundredths by 8. So we're going to set this up using the way that our brains can work division. So it's 9 and 92 hundredths divided by 8. What's really important with dividing, and dividing by decimals especially, is that you keep everything very neat and lined up. If you don't, that's where mistakes happen. You've got to make sure that you are diligent about being neat. We're going to first take this decimal point and go ahead and move it up into our quotient. Okay, that's where the neatness comes in. You've got to make sure that decimal point falls in the right place. Then we're going to start with 9 and divide 9 by 8. 9 divided by 8 is 1. 1 times 8 is 8. Subtract and there's 1 left over. You'll notice I put the 1 right here in my quotient above the 9 that I divided by. Always make sure that you keep everything lined up, because if you don't, you have that decimal point in the wrong spot and then you have a different number. Now that I've done that step, I'm going to bring down the 9. 19 divided by 8 is 2. And again, I'm writing that 2 right above the 9 that I brought down. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract and we get 3. Next, I'm going to bring down that last 2 that is in my quotient, and I'm going to divide once again. And please keep in mind how everything is nice and neat and organized as I'm doing this. 32 divided by 8 is 4. I write it right above the 2 in my dividend. 4 times 8 is 32. Subtract, and I'm left with 0. Where I see kids also make mistakes is right here. They write this 32 and then they stop showing their work. Your work should continue on. I should see where you get to that 0. So this means that 9 and 92 hundredths divided by 8 is 1 and 24 hundredths. This problem worked out perfectly. We didn't have to worry about any kind of remainders or anything going on. At the end, it divided evenly. Let's look at another one that we might not be so lucky with. Again, we're going to set our problem up. We're going to make sure that we line things up neatly the entire time. So 8 and 58 hundredths divided by 12. I'm going to bring that decimal point up. 8 divided by 12 is 0. I'm being very careful here and making sure that I am taking this digit by digit. That's going to also help prevent making mistakes. 0 times 12 is 0. Subtract and we get 8. And then I'm going to bring down the 5. 85 divided by 12 is 7. That 7 is right above the 5 that I brought down. 7 times 12 is 84. Subtract and we're left with 1. Bring down the 8. 18 divided by 12 is 1. That 1 is directly on top of the 8 that I just brought down. 1 times 12 is 12. Subtracted, I'm left with 6. Now, unlike the other problem where when we subtracted we had nothing at the end, I still have a 6. With decimals, that means I have to annex a 0. I have to add a 0 here to the end and keep going. So now I'm going to do 60 divided by 12, which would be 5. The 5 goes right on top of the 0. 5 times 12 is 60. Subtract and we're left with nothing. So I end up with 715 thousandths as my quotient. One more problem we're going to look at together. 7 and 54 hundredths divided by 3. Bring that decimal up into my quotient. And then let's start this process. 7 divided by 3, of course, is going to be 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract and we get, oops, sorry about that, we get 1. Remember, we're keeping things neat. I have that 2 directly above the 7, and I'm going to subtract it. I'm going to bring down my 5. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 5 times 3 is 15. Subtract and we have nothing. Now this does not mean that we are done. Sometimes kids stop here, and that's not the case. We need to bring down this 4. 4 divided by 3 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Subtract and I have 1 left over. As before, we have to annex a 0. 10 divided by 3 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract and we have 1. Uh-oh, I think we see what's going to happen here. I'm going to add a 0 and bring it down. Again, I'm going to end up with 3. And I'm going to continue with this becoming a repeating decimal, which of course would be rational. However, it's going to continue on and on forever. So what I want you to do as a mathematician is we are going to go ahead and represent this 2 ways. We could write this as 2.513, and we will put that repetent up above the 3 to show that it's going to, that 3 is repeating. That line does not go above the 5 and the 1 though, because the 5 and the 1 are not repeating. It's just the 3 that is. Another way that we can write this is we know that it's going to go on and on and on and on forever. So what we could do is we could round it here to this second 3. So my result would be 2.5133. This is what I'm going to want you to do on your exit ticket today. You will have a repeating decimal. I want you to round it to the second number that is repeating. And if you are struggling with the rounding, come and see me after the live lesson and I will give you a quick tutorial. Good luck today, guys.